Excellent. So our first session today is our trendsetter session, and I'm joined by two of my colleagues, Eric Ogilvy and Darren Mercer. How are you guys?
Hey, Eric, good morning.
All right. Perfect. This session promises to be very interactive with the audience. I know that AI and machine learning are always two big topics that people want to discuss. So what I'll do is I'll turn it over to you guys, and I'll monitor the chats for any questions for you.
Awesome, I appreciate it. And first and foremost, I'd like to thank everyone for joining. If you've been here for multiple days for these sessions, hopefully you found value in what we've been able to share. And I would be amiss to not thank Eric Hale, who I think has been a tremendous host, and we appreciate you being involved.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
And you're yeah, you're still looking good and going strong for, I think we're on day 7 at this point. So we definitely appreciate everything you provided to us. And I'm also joined by Darren Mercer, as mentioned. He's one of my colleagues here at Creatio. I'm a senior account manager, so I work and partner with some of the largest companies we have here at Creatio. And Darren is one of our sales executives who works and partners with customers who are exploring low-code technology, being able to share information and be able to advise and potentially bring people on board to work with us here at Creatio. So as far as the topics for today, as Eric mentioned, I think this is a very important, very interesting session. It is about how low-code AI and machine learning are affecting the manufacturing industry, but it affects all of us, right? This isn't just you working in that industry having challenges, but pretty much every human on planet Earth has had some sort of involvement and impact they've felt because of the worldwide pandemic and its impact on the manufacturing industry. So we'll be jumping into a number of different topics. We're definitely going to talk about the challenges which have been posed, which was created by the pandemic. We're going to talk about the trends and what was accelerated because of the responses, the reactions people needed to come up with. Darren is going to share some information about some technologies that are transforming the manufacturing and distribution industries in the post-COVID era, which hopefully we're just about to be in. And then we're going to kind of bring it back full circle. We'll talk about how that low-code technology fits into these trends and these challenges and continues that process and hopefully improves things moving forward. And also we'll be doing the Q&A session as mentioned at the end. So please drop your questions, your thoughts, your comments into the chat as we go along. And we'll do our best to address any topics or questions that the crowd has at the end. So, all right, let's jump into it. Let's talk about the challenges that COVID posed. First is going to be the impacts. So this is all information that was found by industry experts. And first and foremost, it was 7.5% drop in this industry in manufacturing just in the year 2020 alone. And it's not expected to recover and reach the levels it was at in 2019 until the year 2022. So it was quite a heavy impact it had. It's one that's going to be lasting. It equates to $2.8 trillion of value. And then some of the industries that were hit hardest within manufacturing, the global machinery production is actually an 11% reduction during this time. Automotive production will be one of the hardest hit. Unlikely to recover until 2024 is what they found. My wife is trying to change this. She has her eye on a new Tesla, so she wants to be part of stimulating the economy a little bit. So we'll see if we can help there. And also the aerospace, obviously very, very largely hit by the pandemic. And there was a 21% reduction, a collapse in demand for air travel during this time. So those are the impacts that were felt because of COVID-19. Now, the reactions to it. What did businesses do when they went through this situation? You'll see these are the focuses that happened amongst CIOs, according to Gartner, based on the experience. Whopping 93%, there's the resilience on the supply chain. That's obviously crucial here. Don't make me bring up toilet paper because I will totally talk about how supply chain and toilet paper kind of mixes in there a little bit. And then also the plan to invest in talent to be able to digitize their businesses. And they also took this opportunity, 70% of them, to become more familiar with the processes that were inside of the business. So as a CIO, they could better advise solutions, understand things, and be able to drive decisions and inform moving forward. So those are reactions. Now let's talk about what those concerns are that came through these understandings. And we'll start at the bottom on this one. First and foremost, of course, is the financial impact that you're going to have from the situation. Those are results of liquidity and capital resources, but what type of, again, financial impact this is going to have on the businesses. Well over 70% listed that as a major concern, as well as the potential for global recession that could be caused by this pandemic. So there's not just current situation, but what is this going to cause? What is it going to look like going into the next few years, based on how this impacts the global economy? Effects on workforce, reduction in productivity. That's about 40% of the folks that stated that was a major concern to them, as well as we mentioned, supply chain disruptions, difficulties in fundings, and a good percentage of people as well found that they don't have enough information to make these decisions for today. And again, understanding going forward, what type of data, what type of insight they need in order to address these items. So this will bring us to our first poll. So we encourage everyone to jump into the chat and click on the links that should be there. I believe Eric may have already popped it up there, but if you can share with us which challenges you have experienced in this industry because of the pandemic. There would be disruption to supply chain, the customer demand decrease, productivity decrease, or very likely a lot of folks are going to go with option 4, all the above. But please share your thoughts on the poll, and we'll be sharing that momentarily. All right, awesome. So jumping forward, tech challenges that are being faced right now. Now, some of these items had previously existed and people are just now realizing it. They didn't understand that those weaknesses existed prior to COVID, but now they're seeing them kind of amplified because of the effects of those things. And then you also have challenges that arose because of the actual pandemic that are being dealt with from today going forward. And some of these include siloed data. That's kind of been a theme through the history of technology is, there can be a lot of different point solutions. There can be information housed in a lot of different locations, and it's hard to drive decisions if you don't have a unified data source. So that's definitely a challenge people have. Some others include keeping up with security, keeping consistent, intelligent insights. Very important is scaling that technology to face the growth, especially moving forward as the world kind of bounces back and continues. There's going to be very fast scaling in the technology that's going to need to take place. Also, secure work environment, continuity and disaster recovery was a big focus, and maximizing automation in those robotics, right? It's when these challenges come up, when there's impact on people, employees, you need to have as much automation in place where your business can keep running despite some of the challenges that are happening. So those are the major challenges that were found and pointed out. And moving along, we're going to talk about those trends, right? Sometimes from bad situations, it drives the world forward. It drives technology. It creates opportunity to move things forward and invest in things and really be able to create. And so what we found here was that even though 60% of the manufacturers experienced major disruptions because of COVID, it absolutely accelerated the market to become more industrial and more resilient as well, where if something like this happens again in the future, they're more prepared to be able to deal with it and have less of an impact because of a situation like this. And then as well, the priorities, right? What is it that from what the pandemic caused, were we able to recognize and say, these are going to be our priorities moving forward based on the decisions that we need to make? And again, not surprising, supply chain integration was a big one. Operational resilience at 81%, again, making sure that you have that backup, you have those things in place to be able to continue operating. And improving the operational efficiency was a big one at 92%. That is going to be a major priority and focus for CIOs and other folks in that industry. And then, of course, you have customer growth. We want to get more customers on board. We want to continue driving business. but it was also understood the priority of customer retention. In these types of situations, you need to keep the business you have. You need to make sure you're retaining revenue within your organization. And so it's very important that you focus on your current customers in addition to seeking additional and new business. So those are what we found were the top priority. Eric, why don't I pause real quick? I'm not sure if we have the results of the poll in yet, but if you'd like to share what you found.
Yeah, I would love to share, but it looks like the poll functionality might have been down for that one. So we'll just go with all of the above.
Yeah,
and,
all of the above.
We'll call it early. Yeah.
Awesome.
We'll make sure it's up and running for the next one.
All right, perfect. Cool. So let's talk about actual investment and how people are going to dedicate resources, dedicate funding into improving their technologies. And so the chart you're looking at right here, it's the top line is they're going to invest more. The deep red is they're going to invest the same. And then the darker color there is they're going to invest less in these technologies. So blockchain, Internet of Things, there was a small desire to grow there. It actually had a reduction in interest to invest in. Data storage, again, also a little bit of growth. Artificial intelligence saw a lot of focus that businesses wanted to implement and invest more into AI technologies. Advanced analytics technologies, a big jump there at 19%. What we at Creatio like to see is there was a very big focus and desire to increase cloud-based technologies within businesses. In fact, a very slight number of people said they were going to reduce that, but 20% of folks said we need to invest more in cloud-based technologies. And then robotic process automation, workflow automation kind of circles back and brings it all home about how companies need to become more efficient. They need to become automated so they can better deal with any types of future occurrences like this moving forward. So now that brings us to the trends. What does this cause? What are people focusing on in this industry and where are we going with it? Selling direct to customers. This was obviously a major focus. It was a challenge that happened because of the pandemic, is how they get this product out, the hands that it passes through. So there's going to be a big move into direct to consumer models in order to be able to adapt to these things. Omnichannel is a differentiating reality, is what they have here. It was realized that companies can really increase their pipeline significantly, as much by 1.5 to 2 times by utilizing omnichannel lead generation. So again, making sure you're as efficient as possible and making the most out of what you have, as well as increasing automation, digital sales operations. It's a big focus. It was found that it can reduce sales costs by up to 25%, and also using data better. Being able to take the information you already have and apply that to decisions that you make going forward. And it's found you can potentially raise conversion rates by 20 to 30% by simply using the data more intelligently that you have. So poll number 2, we're going to see if this one works. Maybe we get a little luckier, or maybe I can guess right again on this one.
All right.
But based on the trends that we have pointed out and you guys have found, which are you most likely to follow? Is it selling direct to the customers? Is it the omni-channel lead generation, increasing automation, or is it driving better decisions using your data intelligently? So assuming it's working, appreciate it. You can enter that into the poll. Yeah. Otherwise, what am I going to go with? I'm going to go with increasing automation tied with data-driven decisions. I'm going to kind of hedge my bets on that one and pick too, but we'll see.
It seems like we're up and running, so this one will be good. All right.
All right, perfect. And on this one, before I pass it off to Darren to talk about some of those specific technologies, if you're going to take a screenshot of anything during this presentation, this would probably be the one, because it's really what kind of summarizes those priorities for action and where the focus is going to go inside the industry. So those are the direct-to-consumer models, full power to business for inside sales, the driving data, driving lead management, analytics-based sales growth, as well as the full back-end automation, marketing optimization, and digitizing the workforce. So again, that's your snapshot right there if you're going to grab something from this. But from here, I'm going to go ahead and pass this off to my colleague, Darren. So Darren, let me get you to the right slide, my friend, and then I will let you jump in.
Perfect.
All right.
And before Jaron jumps in, I got the
The
poll
poll. All
results.
right.
So why
Oh,
don't we
good.
throw
Let's
those
hear the
out there
poll.
real quick? So we have omni-channel lead generation coming in first, and second is increased automation. So you were close, Eric. You were close, but
I
omni-channel
came
lead
in third and
generation.
fourth. I guess that's close. But
There you go.
okay.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Eric and Eric, for the introduction and talking about the challenges that many manufacturers experienced in the COVID era. And today, luckily enough, I actually didn't copy Eric's haircut for today's presentation. It's just the way things worked out. But I have been fortunate enough through my career to be able to walk through many manufacturing plants of processing chicken and poultry parts in one of the largest brands here in America, high-tech avionics manufacturing locations. So as I've been able to walk the floors and hear the stories from a lot of manufacturers, these three technologies that we'll address right now really have become more pertinent and been accelerated, as Eric properly illustrated. So, let's roll on to the next one, Eric, and talk about some of, ultimately what the challenges of 2020 have really driven within a lot of organizations is a required adaptability and plasticity to current market challenges. So if you think about, the supply chain challenges that a lot of organizations have to deal, getting raw materials into their plants, actually, and thinking about how to process and manufacture those correctly, and then having your sales teams where they weren't able to go out and visit with a lot of organizations in person or go out to events and meet a lot of customers. A lot of that process and a lot of those challenges a lot of those changes have really driven organizations to adapt. And the reliance on adapting internal processes has made organizations focus on real business processes and real drive to make sure that they can keep in contact with their customers. So you'll see organizations are spending a good bit more on digital transformation efforts. Let's automate, because any manufacturing building you've walked into, and these can be the most robust, technically advanced organizations, many times there's still a lot of processes that they do manually. And being able to automate those and clean that up, the challenges of 2020 drove a lot of organizations to do so, from largest manufacturers even down to smaller organizations that we work with. Also, go ahead, Eric. Let's move to the next one.
Yep.
All right, thanks. So as we talk about, what this efficiency and agility and productivity from a lot of organizations have done, what the COVID-19 pandemic did was really condense and drive a lot of organizations to adapt in a much quicker manner. If you think about many organizations drove people to work remotely in the last year because we couldn't work. But the manufacturing organizations still had to have people show up. But COVID-19 really sped up a lot of the transformations of how do we interact with our customers? How do we interact with new prospects? And so a lot of organizations had to drive different mannerisms and different ways to connect with different organizations out there. So, you can see over there, 70% of businesses increase their digital transformation spend during that process so that they could effectively enable customer retention efforts, but also reach new customers doing that process. And also, there's also been a shift overall in leadership as far as business executives coming out here and responding to this digital operational excellence. And we've seen a slow shift from IT organizations carrying the lead on many of these business initiatives, where the business executives get involved more in the process of the technology selection, but also how to deploy this. Let's make sure we map out our processes correctly. And many of these organizations find they need to drive not only speed, time to value, time to market in this process, but also increase productivity. And by doing so, they can get a competitive advantage against their peers. And, ultimately, why do we change our processes? Why do we need to adapt that? Well, there needs to be a couple of real benefits out of the process. And business leaders are looking for that type of competitive advantage in today's marketplace. So, and ultimately, we always like to highlight if there are, some challenges and why we do need to automate those business processes. There usually needs to be a good benefit as far as increasing revenues. The office of the CFO has become much more involved in making sure that organizations are spending properly as budgets were tightened during the COVID-19 pandemic. So you'll see a lot of business, what does this process, how do we automate this, and what is this going to save us, or what is this going to increase our revenue process? And there have been some winners and losers during this pandemic timeframe. Ultimately, the people who have taken advantage of digital automation, digital processes, and digital transformation efforts have really driven and have higher not only net incomes in the process, but they've increased their revenue. You can see by 11.2% of the organizations who really engaged and took these engagements on as far as a digital transformation effort. So therefore, definite dollars and cents involvement in this process has really driven a lot of these changes. So let's transition over and start talking about 3 technologies here that help and assist this digital transformation process within your organizations. And it'll be fun to see everybody's feedback in the chat as far as, what you consider pertinent, because we will do a poll at the end in this process. But I also want to talk here a little bit about how low code enables a lot of this digital transformation. So ultimately, low code and business process management. If you think about, as you've walked into one of these large manufacturing organizations, and the teams that are involved are doing their production process, but there's always some gaps in manual processes that slow down and become bottlenecks during that manufacturing process. Allowing a low-code business process engine and automation can really drive a lot of efficiencies through the process and getting the products out to the market quicker. Another real benefit that we've seen that a lot of organizations have been deploying is there's increased adaptability needed. Customers are coming back and saying, what, I need this, but I need this at this point. They understand that there's some supply chain restrictions and some constraints that are happening currently, but by providing better customer service and by adapting quicker to what market changes are doing, that allows a lot of organizations to benefit from, increased operational efficiencies. And another aspect is because sometimes budgets were constrained during this time, we needed worker productivity to increase in that process. And by increasing worker productivity, you need to give them the tools so that they can operate at a more optimum manner. So therefore, really low code can help out and assist that process. The big one that we've heard a good bit, though, is the supply chain has been constrained. If you think nowadays, automotive manufacturers are dealing with not having enough chips to be able to produce all the electronics within their car, and streamlining. Consumers are understanding that there are constraints out there in the supply chain, but we need to give them the proper information at the right time. So having that visibility from origin of raw materials coming into the walls of our manufacturing facility, and then being able to predict and forecast appropriately when we'll be able to deliver those components that are so important that we're trying to provide to our clientele, that has become very paramount in this process. And then also organizations, there's IT skills that are involved in coding and development, but if we deploy low-code technologies that really can enable business users to be able to build their own business processes and adapt their teams in a quicker manner. So therefore, any business application they build and deploy can be done in a matter of days. It doesn't take weeks or months. So really speed their value. Also, artificial intelligence is a fun topic to talk about nowadays. We're not talking Skynet where it controls everything, but let's talk about how this can assist your organization in the process. One area we hear artificial intelligence really helping organizations is on the production lines. Of course, we're out there producing, but as I was telling you about that large chicken and poultry processing plant that they walked through, they estimated any time that their production line would go down, it would cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars per hour when their production line is down. So unexpected and production line breakdowns are really costly to the organization. Artificial intelligence now, with internal sensors and the ability to monitor and manage and look at the machinery involved in the production line process, really can be enabled by artificial intelligence to say, oh, sensor here, this machine part in the production line is actually utilizing too much energy right now, and the temperatures are exceeding too high. So therefore, we can identify that part as coming down to its end of life. So let's come in and quickly replace that before we have an unexpected production line breakdown. Or, let's look at predictive maintenance schedules. So therefore, we can schedule out when this part likely will expire. So let's make sure that we can be ahead of the game and understand that, make sure that we don't have any unexpected downtimes. Also, artificial intelligence really has been able to help organizations predict better when they can deliver their products to their customers and make sure that that process is moving correctly, because the consumers are understanding, but at the same time they need those products, and giving better insight and giving better forecast availability and telling them when it's going to show up has increased customer attention and trust. And therefore, there's been substantial artificial intelligence plays where it can predict more accurately when the items will show up. And then, of course, we can talk about planning across different departments and being able to forecast via AI technologies of how these interactions will happen and making sure that everybody is in sync. So it really can enable a lot of help. And then the fifth component there is assisting with those manual tasks that we spoke to previously, the bottlenecks that don't happen. If we can automate some of those repetitive tasks, and where we've seen this really helpful is within marketing organizations. Many of them have started deploying automated chat features so that when the customer comes onto the website or interacts with the team, they can automate and answer a lot of their questions quickly and qualify those leads as potential buyers in a quicker manner. So artificial intelligence is fun there. Now, let's talk a little bit about machine learning. And I imagine we're going to have a question later on that will say, hey, Darren, what's the difference between artificial intelligence and machine learning? And we'll be happy to identify that here in a good bit. But machine learning really has helped organizations come in and understand their customer base better. What does this customer buy from us? When do they buy it, and why do they buy it? Now, if this customer is doing that, they have peers out there. Let's see how we can not only assist our customers, but let's look and see in the marketplace who are other organizations who have similar needs, and how can we market and talk to those people. So really, machine learning based upon information and data within our systems can allow us to not only help and assist our existing customers to provide them insights as to how we can help sell to them better, but also how can we sell to other organizations that are similar to this and make sure that we continue to sell to them. Also, the supply chain management, we talked a good bit about, visibility and traceability in that process. So we can really model based upon data that we have in our system and forecast properly to make sure we deliver that, and improving the logistics that we do with any organization. So the machine learning and artificial intelligence, low code, all three of those technologies are very important for organizations to adapt in 2021. And I would dare say, as we do this poll, let's not just say 2021, but maybe the next 3 years time frame. What should we look to adapt here via this poll? So I have my guess. Eric, you probably have your guess as to what you'd want to put in here, but Eric Hale, I'll turn it back to you. Yeah, there's a 4 coming up.
Yeah. Yeah, all right. Well, let's see the results of the poll here, guys. We'll give a few minutes for the results to come in.
Cool. All right.
And awesome. In fact, I can jump back in. I know we're going to be running pretty tight on time, so I can keep rolling, and Eric, you can jump in when we get the poll results in. But so let's bring it back full circle, and let's talk about how low code plays into all of these learnings we've had through the COVID-19 pandemic, and really how those tools can be utilized to help improve efficiency and solve for now as well as the future. So we at Creatio, we believe in a world where everyone can automate business processes within minutes. When it comes specifically to the manufacturing industry, there's certain strengths that we believe are the most important. And that, of course, is the CRM, a unified CRM, a single source of truth for your data. Again, really to be able to drive decisions through data, as Darren talked about with those different technologies, you need to have a unified data source that's actually getting all that information, so it will provide true and accurate information. So Creatio, of course, is a unified CRM. We also have business applications, which are designed to solve business challenges from end to end, really all across any business you guys have. And we'll talk about some of those specifics here momentarily. And we also have a focus on vertical applications, where you have a lot of options of things that might be pre-built or designed specifically for the manufacturing industry, where again, you can start with something out of the box very close to what it is that you need. And then with that low code technology that everybody's been learning about, and we've been speaking about for the last week and a half at this point, just in a matter of minutes, hours, days, whatever it might be, you can customize and tweak those applications so they reflect your company's culture, your processes, and so forth, but be able to take those apps and use them and quickly adapt and customize them. And Creatio also has a host of add-ons and templates. Maybe these are ways to integrate with other systems that you have in place, again, be able to drive those decisions. So a ton of different types of add-ons, as well as templates, where if you have an idea of something that can be automated within your business, you don't necessarily have to go out and, again, build something from scratch. You can start with something that we have in our marketplace and be able to build on from that point. So those are really the key features as it relates to low code and Creatio specifically. And as I mentioned, these are some of the valuable pieces that low code can solve for. And you'll see when you look down the left side of this is end to end. So you can automate the marketing aspects, which bring you from lead to the opportunity stage. And then from opportunity to order, so that's your Salesforce automation, that's managing the products, managing the quotes, and doing all that inside of one low code platform. Then of course, order to cash, so the order management piece, the manufacturing itself, procurement and supply chain, all the way to service and support, where once you've completed those processes, as we talked about in the beginning, equally as important to bringing on new customers is caring for the existing ones you have, focusing on retention and so forth. So being able to, again, offer service support in a unified platform is of course key, and that's something which is part of the platform. And then the corporate services to run your business. So that's HR, that's internal support, your internal operations piece. And once again, it's all part of one unified platform that people can work in with the low code customization, not requiring all those IT sources to be able to continually configure and update or to roll out new processes. And so those are really kind of the key benefits. Again, if you're going to screenshot a second thing, I know I pointed out the one diagram, but for your second screenshot, I would definitely recommend taking a look at this one, because it provides a lot of details about, again, what specifically can be managed. So for marketing, for an example, event management, loyalty programs, and so forth. So you might need a screenshot in Zoom, but I think this is a great way to kind of summarize the different ways that you can utilize no-code platforms like Creatio. So I'll tell you what, I know we're pretty much at time.
Yeah.
We'll see if we have time for Q&A, but Eric, let's kick it back to you for the poll results.
Yeah, absolutely. And our offline team has been doing a great job at trying to keep up with the questions, guys. So thank you very much for your presentation. Last results. Which technologies are you planning to adapt in 2021? It's at a dead tie for low code and all of the above, right? So we would hope that low code would come in high on that list as you're on the low code marathon. So again, guys, great presentation, a lot of great feedback in the chat, very helpful for the audience. We appreciate your time.
Great. Thank you everyone for joining. Thanks, Eric.
All right, bye guys.